SYS presents Adventures in Online Education.
My guest today is Alfonso Mendoza. Alfonso serves as an instructional technologist and has received his master's in educational technology, e-learning certification, and technology leadership certification from the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, along with his technology director certificate from TCEA. He is currently working on his doctorate in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in educational technology. You cannot stop this man from learning. Alfonso is also one of less than 3,000 Google Innovators worldwide and was named one of the top 50 EdTech Influencers on Augmented Reality in K-12 Worth a Follow in 2021. Today, he'll help us understand how to best harness the technology we have available to us to engage students, connect meaningfully, and also grow our courage around new tools. So, are you ready? Let's learn something new. All right. Welcome to the podcast, Alfonso. Thank you so much for being here. I am so thankful for your time and so excited to talk with you today.
Oh, well, I'm excited to be here, but please just call me Fonz.
All right. All right, Fonz. I love it. It is the start of a school year. Some teachers are already back in their classrooms, back at it. Others are gearing up for that post-Labor Day entrance back into the classroom. Your role is really unique and really important. You're an instructional technologist. Tell our friends what that is.
Yes, of course, I'd love to. So, this is going to be my sixth year as an instructional technologist for a school district here in South Texas. And really, what my role has been from the beginning is really to get to know the platforms that all of the teachers are using, and just so I can make sure that I can help troubleshoot and be able to answer their questions and coach them also on how they are able to use those platforms with their students for instruction as well. And so I do a little bit of the tech side as far as, the troubleshooting aspect of it, but don't dive in deep into fixing printers or fixing computers. But what I love about my role also as well is that I get to work with the curriculum and instruction department. So I'm in the middle of technology and curriculum and instruction. So it is great that I'm able to give recommendations, give feedback as to which platforms may or may not work, as depending on our systems and our back end, what's happening there. And of course, for me, I'm all about the professional development. So that's the big role too that I have, preparing teachers for the next school year, new to district teachers. We train substitutes as well. And along with that, too, I also do engage a lot with parent meetings. Once a month, we do Technology Tuesdays where I'm able to share a lot of the tools that their children are using at home, so that way the parents can be familiar with the technology and can also be a resource at home for their students, and they can feel that they are in the loop and they are part of the learning. So it's quite different, at least in my district. I know in some locations the instructional technologist just deals with instructional tech, but here, I do get to wear many hats. So it's kind of cool that I get to do a little bit of everything and help out different departments. So it's a lot of fun.
You do so much. It feels like wraparound services to me in a lot of ways. It's really neat that you're getting all the stakeholders involved and that you have that reach as well. I think that's really important. Must be a really fulfilling position.
It really is, honestly. It's my passion. I mean, it's my drive. And that's because I don't know if I did share the story with you previously, but I never wanted to be a teacher. I never wanted to go into education ever. Never. I said, this is going to be the most boring job in the whole wide world. And then 16 years now in education. Once I started my first year coming out of business school, did business for 2 years, fell into teaching and fell in love with everything about it, and I'm still in love with it. It's a passion of mine and it just drives me. But like you said, the fact that I get to work with all stakeholders, the district, the students, the parents, and anybody else, I mean, it really is a fulfilling job. And it's sometimes it's really no pressure, but sometimes I'm the one that puts the pressure on myself because I always strive for excellence. And in the end, I mean, it's so rewarding and I love it. And it's a great learning experience.
Well, your district is very fortunate to have you. I've enjoyed any and all of our conversations we've had or interactions on Twitter. You're just so calm and confident, but helpful and approachable. And your podcast as well is that same way. It's really neat. Your passion and your genuine care for students and teachers really comes across. And so I'm really excited to talk with you today and to share your expertise with our audience and our educators who are listening. So, you wear a lot of hats, you do a lot of things, and educators are sort of similar in that sense. You're usually playing multiple roles in the classroom. And especially as an online educator, there are a lot of things that you're managing day to day, week to week. And one of the things we hear is everything in moderation, right? So, when it comes to educational technology, do you think that saying applies? And how could a teacher at a fully online school embrace that idea, or should they even?
Yeah, of course. And, my motto has always been from the beginning. And I don't know if this just comes back from my business background because a lot of the concepts and a lot of the theory that I learned during my business and especially my specialization in marketing has always been to keep it simple. Keep it simple. And so I think a lot of what has helped me be successful in education as a classroom teacher for 11 years and now even as an instructional technologist, is the ability to just keep it simple. Everything in moderation is definitely a lot better than excess. So sometimes, of course, with anything, like let's say you love sweets. I mean, sweets in moderation are good, but sweets in excess, you'll definitely see that it's going to harm you in the long run. Same thing with tech tools. I'm a big believer in just keeping, at least four main tech tools that you can use in your class. And of course, now again, this goes on a case by case because you will have those teachers that are very fluent in their digital literacy and the concept of technology and platforms. And they're the ones that are movers and shakers and very proactive. And, for them, I know that they can go and find the next thing and do other things and mix and match. But even with them, I do highly caution to say, as you are learning this new tech, your students are learning that new tech as well. And sometimes you're going to be
Yes.
spending too much time just learning the new tech. The student may need to know another sign on. The student's going to see, oh, another platform, but miss, you assigned it on this. No, but it needed to be done in this way. And it causes overload. It's information overload for the
Mhm.
student and even for you as an educator. You're putting too much pressure on yourself because now it's like you're learning a new platform that you see up on Twitter just because, Twitter's a great place to find information, but even with that, it's so much overload. So my recommendation has always been keep it simple. Start off with 3 to 4 that are going to get you through and are going to get you to simply make sure that you hit all the points that are in your curriculum and that play effectively and help you engage and create a learning experience for your students. So keep it simple. I know for our district, the ones that as soon as they said, okay, Fonz, which ones do you think we need? I said, okay, we were already a Google Workspace district. So I said, for sure, we're going to stick to Google Classroom. I said, we're going to use Screencastify for the screen recordings.
I
We're going to
love
use,
Screencastify.
yeah, we're going to use Cami. All our teachers can be digital heroes now because they can annotate pretty much on any document and so
Mhm.
on. And then Edpuzzle also as well for engagement. So, we kept it simple with that. And just because those three or those four play very well with each other. However, with the information age that we live, there are those teachers that are sometimes they don't really dive in deep into what the platform can do and really master it. And then they just see another platform that may do the same thing, but they just didn't know that it could be done in the platform that they already have. So then there's a
Yes.
duplication of efforts. And oftentimes I feel that as educators, we can be our worst enemies in that we find the next little thing with the bell and whistle, and we want that, and we leave this, and it's just too much stress. You're doing it to yourself. Keep in mind that the technology is a tool, but as a teacher, it is our responsibility to find that balance between the tech and, of course, your curriculum. But really, what we should be focusing on is creating the learning experience. A learning experience, believe it or not, you can even do it without the tech. You can still create an effective learning experience. So think about those things, teachers. The tech that you should ditch is really tech that is a substitution for something that you are already doing. What we need to focus on is how can we use technology to augment and redefine our pedagogy, our practice. How can we use the tech now to do something that before was inconceivable without the tech? And now we've seen that through virtual instruction, where now I can go and pull a subject matter expert from, let's say, if we're studying something in, I don't know, Germany, and maybe I have a scientist or I have a designer or I have an artist, I can bring him into my classroom through a Zoom session and they can meet with my students before you would never be able to do that. So now you're creating a learning experience where a student might be able to take a virtual trip to, let's say, Mount Rushmore, a student that may never have the opportunity to go there, but because of the tech, you're able to create a 3D or a virtual experience for them where they can see and learn and you're engaging them. So that's kind of the tech that really we should be looking at and really focusing on and trying to spend our time to learn those because we want to create that learning experience. So, like I said, take that as you'd like, but keep it simple and you'll definitely go a long way. You won't burn yourself out. And trust me, the simpler you keep it, the more efficient and effective that you can be as well.
Yeah, I really like that. It really resonates with me when you said that oftentimes we're not diving deeply enough into the tech that we do have, into the app or the product that we have. And I found that even in my own experience as an online educator, I get better year after year at a single piece of technology, and then I can use it better with my students. Like you think of maybe Google Sheets, and okay, you could use that in a very Google Sheets 101 kind of way, right? Or you could have students doing budgets and putting formulas in there and there's just so much more in creating a chart from that or a graph. And there's just a lot more that you can do with any single application. And it is so tempting to just jump to the next thing, or someone says, "Oh, you use X? I tried Y. It's awesome." You're like, "Oh, okay, we should get
Yeah.
Y instead." And to just stop and think and also consider, like what you said, what is the purpose of it? Why am I using this? Is it enhancing? Is it doing something that I couldn't do another way? And then also, I might be really good at this, but all the stakeholders have to get really good at this too. So even though I'm really confident in my tech skills or using all these new apps, are my students and the parents and all those other people involved, are they confident in it? And how much effort will that take to train? I think those are really good takeaways and considerations.
Yeah.
Less
And
is more. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about student success and relationships with teachers and technology. SYS is an online management company that takes a different approach. We partner with schools to manage solutions. Whether you are a district adding an online option for students or an online school looking to go in a new direction, SYS Education can help make it exactly what you need it to be, with high-quality products at a fraction of the cost that schools pay to other companies. We are not just an educational consulting company, we are online educators ourselves, and a tech team like no other. Let us help you bring your online school experience to the next level. Find out more at syseducation.org or by emailing info@syseducation.org. Set up your free consultation meeting to discuss how SYS might be able to help your school. All right, welcome back. So much of a student's success is tied to their relationship with their teachers. Online teachers have unique challenges compared to a brick and mortar teacher when it comes to getting to know students personally. Based on your experience with EdTech, how can technology either facilitate or hinder that relationship building when teachers and students are fully online?
So, as far as the technology being able to use to connect, it's a wonderful tool. That's the huge plus side where you can still have communication. But the only thing is that hindrance is still understanding that we need to have that empathy. We need to have that compassion. We need to build that relationship and that trust. And we need to, as teachers, we need to say, okay, I know what I need to do, but I also need to see myself as a guest in my student's home, and I must respect them as well. And oftentimes, I told teachers too, the ways that you can avoid any problems, within the classroom, as far as maybe students not being engaged, maybe students, you feel that they're not being attentive and so on. Students burn out too as well. Understand giving them breaks. We are the masters of our domain as far as teaching. So understand that, just like you would need a break, they would need a break. They don't want to have their camera on and you don't know if they're there or not. That's something that comes with the job and with the territory, but maybe just reach out and engage and see if you can get a response. More often you will, but it's just they just don't want to show their face. But I think the very important piece is like yourself, you are a completely online teacher. What I've learned is that if you build that relationship in the beginning and really, really take your time, even if it's a day and a half, to get to know your students, give them an activity, a little virtual activity where they can all collaborate and it's an about me, what you like, what you don't like. Be one of those teachers that says, hey, I say that Johnny has his camera on. Johnny's wearing a jersey of his favorite football team and say, hey, Johnny, that's a nice jersey. Tell me a little bit about that. Do you like that team? Who's your favorite player? Then they start seeing like, wow, like they want to get to know me. They're interested in what I have here. And then it's like, hey, Susie, I see that you have an aquarium back there. What kind of fish do you have? Little things like that, guys. It comes down to
Yes.
relationships. And to me, I feel that there has been a huge disconnect because as teachers, I understand we need to make sure that we push through the curriculum, that we do what we need to do. But you have to understand it all starts with that relationship and build that up. And you'll see that return on investment is going to be great throughout the year if you take the time to do that at the very beginning. So, like I said, I know I kind of went off a little bit on there, but like I said, those
No,
are
it's
some
all
of the
good.
yeah, so those are some of the advantages that you see. Those are some of the disadvantages that you see with the tech.
I really liked what you said about setting the tone at the start of the year and really just considering your students as humans, as people. I think
Yes.
sometimes, we can call them scholars or learners or students, and it seems really casual maybe to call them our kids. And we definitely say that with our colleagues. But I think the wording matters and it helps us frame it as well. Like, understanding that we are guests in their homes, those of us who are online all the time, we are always a guest in our students' homes. And you have to take into consideration, just like we were talking about with the kinds of tech you use and how much technology or platforms you're using, all your stakeholders, and that relationship building happens with the kids and with their families. And if you can do that in those first weeks of school, that will absolutely pay dividends for you and for them throughout the school year. So I really appreciate your emphasis on that relationship and that there are many ways to do it online. And it's definitely going to be different than brick and mortar. I always say that online teaching, if you're 100% online, that is just, it's a different job. It's not the same career or job description as a hybrid teacher or as a brick and mortar teacher. I've done both. I was a brick and mortar teacher and then I moved online, and they're just apples and oranges. It's not the same. You're maybe teaching the same Common Core 5th grade standard, but it is a world of difference. And so I think you're right. There's just so many ways to engage in an online platform, but it's the relationship first. It's whatever that kid is going to respond to or however that family is comfortable communicating with you. Go with that and run with it because that's the basis for everything we're doing. We need that trust, we need that engagement, and that happens when you have a genuine relationship and you genuinely care.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's always the key, just relationships for sure.
Well, final question for you. We have all been faced with learning a new platform, an app, or some kind of technology, a lot of teachers, especially during COVID. I am personally getting my feet wet in Trello, which is an app we're using to organize our podcast production. And I kind of feel like my parents right now when they first got an iPhone or first learned to FaceTime. So I'm understanding that frustration or that intimidation. Do you have advice for teachers who may be feeling intimidated by technology or by learning a new piece of technology? And how can we as educators exhibit that growth mindset that we preach to our students when it comes to technology?
Yeah, the best advice that I always give teachers is just get clicky with it. Get clicky with it. I mean, there's absolutely nothing that you can break. I mean, especially if you're just there on the account on your own. Click, click, find, undo, redo, control Z, control A, control C, copy, do whatever. Just figure it out. It's all about experimenting and being very creative. And I think oftentimes as teachers, because we work in the setting that we're always told or given directives of what to do, and you tell us exactly how you want us to do, oftentimes teachers have that fear, and that fear trickles into their use of tech. Like, "Oh, I don't know how to do this." And they just panic. And so I always just casually always tell them, I was like, look, just get clicky with it. Figure it out. You're not going to break anything. And unless it says the system is down or tells you in a big blue screen that says you've broken something, I said, then call me. If it doesn't say that, just experiment. If you have any questions, I'm here to help. And it's giving them that confidence and that trust that I believe in them, that they're going to be able to figure it out. And it's not that I don't want to help them. I'll enable them to some extent and then just say, just get clicky with it. Think of what you can do. And then I start kind of making those connections to, you see, since you're teaching science, try this, or how would this work for this concept? And then they just kind of get clicky. And then I'll get emails. Oh, Mr. Mendoza, this is great. I figured out how to do this. Or they'll send me a link of something that they've created and they get so excited. And that right there for me is like really excites me, because you're helping them to a point where they're able to find a solution. But now as an instructional technologist, you're kind of in the background where it almost feels like they didn't even get any help from you. Like they just kind of did it on their own. And so it's about, number one, having that growth mindset, not fearing the new, the novel, and just getting clicky with it. And so that's the way I've learned too as well. If I find a platform, I just get clicky with it, figure it out, see what I can do. And then if I can't figure out something, I'll just either find a YouTube video and then I'll finally learn.
Right?
But it's just like I said, don't fear the tech. Don't let the tech control you. You control the tech. Keep in mind, you're the one that is in charge of the mouse. You are the one that is in charge of the computer. So the tech will only do what you allow it to do, and it'll go as far as you want to go. So get clicky with it. And what's going to happen there is that vulnerability is going to show, where now all of a sudden you're not an expert in this platform. So if you take that back into the classroom, I always found that it was valuable to understand that it's okay to be vulnerable, that you're not going to know everything, because you may be teaching this new tech to a classroom and then all of a sudden it just doesn't go right. Something happens, you forget one little detail where maybe now you feel like, oh man, my whole lesson is a bust. It's okay, because what's happened to me in my experience is all of a sudden I'll say, okay, guys, that didn't quite work out the way I wanted to work out. All of a sudden I'll have a student raise their hand and say, wait, Mr. Mendoza, check this out. I think this is the way you need to do it. And then he'll show me, and then he'll show the rest of the class. And I'll be like, yeah, you're right. Look at that. Okay, guys, so this is what we're going to do.
Yes.
But I have just, number one, shown my students that I don't know everything, and that is okay. They're seeing real life there, as a problem solving skill, all of those skills, that it's okay to be vulnerable. However, there was a student that raised their hand and had enough courage to say, hey, Mr. M, I think this is the way it goes. And they were absolutely right. And then I empowered him or her to show the rest of the class how this is done. And now you've made that child's day and saying, oh, today I taught my teacher this. Now, by the end of the day, I already look like the subject matter expert, but it's because I've learned it from my students. So have that growth mindset that it's okay to learn from your students as well. You're all in this together. This is a community. And again, it goes back to that relationship, and the return on investment for the rest of the year is going to be great. So always keep that in mind.
Yeah, I love that. And I really appreciate you saying that we can't break it because we might say that to one another as
Yeah.
teachers, but then to hear an instructional technologist say, you really can't, there's nothing
Yeah.
you're probably going to do to this that's going to be undoable,
Yeah.
So that's really comforting.
Yeah, if you don't see that blue screen of death, you're okay.
You're
Just log
fine.
out, log back in, control Z, and then just start again, and you're gonna be fine, you know? Yeah.
Yes. And we've talked about that vulnerability before on the podcast as well, where you don't have to be the expert and you don't have to be perfect at all these things too. I mean, I've had third graders help me with a math tech app that I hadn't used before. And the teacher said, "Hey, let's try this." And I was all confident, like, yeah, I could figure that out. And I couldn't figure a little aspect of it out. And, an 8-year-old says, "Hey, Mrs. Conway, let me help. I know how to do that." And it's like you said, empowering for her and great for those students, especially as a special education teacher. I was generally working with students who are struggling with a concept or a skill. And to see them observe me have a struggle or not know something and then grow through it and get help from someone, I hope that, they internalize that to some extent too. So that shared control of what we're doing, the being okay with making a mistake or being wrong, all of those things, none of those diminish us as professionals or as, content area experts or anything like that. It is just being a human. And so I think it's really important we keep that in mind and we always model that with our students as well.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that because you mentioned it before and now you said it again, but it comes back to that human aspect. It's
Mhm.
human. I mean, we don't know everything, and that's a way that we need to see ourselves. We are only human. Yes, we have a role as an educator, but as a human, we're flawed. We may not have the answers to everything, and that's quite all right. And then our students too. Like you said, we call them scholars, we call them this, but they are only human as well. We need that connection and those relationships, and I think that's where it all starts from.
Absolutely. I know. I want to just give my virtual students a hug right now, just thinking about it. Oh my goodness. Fonz, it's been really awesome talking with you. I so appreciate just your kind and genuine manner. You are so skilled and you know so much, and you just share it so willingly and so generously with us all. I really appreciate that. I am sure listeners are going to want to connect with you more. How can they find you out in the virtual or real world?
Yeah, actually, what they can do is they can visit my website or you can visit my website at www.myedtech.life. And that is my podcast page where you can check out all of our episodes. We've got all sorts of guests, educators, creators. We have subject matter experts. We've had professors and people that are just like this show, willing to share their experiences, willing to share their strategies, their passions. And that's what my EdTech life is all about, just educators and creators connecting one show at a time and just giving them a spotlight to share their passion. So yeah, so you can visit me there, and you can also find me on Twitter at my edtech life, so you can connect with me there. And I'm continually putting up blog posts, a lot of tech tips, things of that sort. And, I'd be happy to connect with you and for all of y'all to be part of my PLF, my personal learning family. And so, yeah, go ahead and find me and be part of my PLF.
Definitely. It's a good place to be in that PLF. I feel really happy there in my Twitter world.
Yes.
I'm thankful to you for being welcomed in there. This has been great. I hope you all are feeling happy and uplifted by our conversation and that you have a little bit more confidence now to do what you need to do and maybe a little bit more information to do it well. Also, thanks, Fonz, and I wish you a fantastic start to the school year.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And likewise to you, my friend. You take care and stay safe.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to this episode of SYS Presents Adventures in Online Education. Special thanks to my skilled and engaging guest today, Alfonso Mendoza. Fonz taught us that it's good to get clicky with it when it comes to learning new technology, and that the best thing we can do with our EdTech is to use it to connect with students and enhance our instruction. No technology can replace the relationship between a teacher and their students. Next week, I talk with Natalie Vardabasso about assessing students in an online environment. She's got smart ideas and a true teacher's heart. Don't miss it. If you liked what you heard, hit subscribe and give us a rating. On Twitter, you can follow me, Natalie Conway, at AOE Natalie, and the show at SYS Presents. If you're interested in finding out more about SYS education, head over to syseducation.org. This podcast wouldn't be possible without our exceptional team at SYS Education, including sound engineers Natalie Farrell and Matt Duran, and producer Bo Neal. Thanks for listening, and remember, we can do hard things.
Thanks for listening.